Welcome back into the College Football Every Game on the Board podcast, part number 3, rotation number 357-358, LSU, Missouri, down to 379-380, Washington State, UCLA. So we got about 11-12 games here with our next handicapper up, Bryson Stricker. Guys, follow him on Twitter at BryStrick. Bryson, welcome on in, buddy. How you feeling?
Good, man. I appreciate it. It's an interesting one you got me starting with, seeing that I'm a Kansas fan. You're going to make me talk Missouri football, but looking forward to it.
Awesome. Well, it's an interesting handicap, I'll tell you guys, as we'll get into it here. 357-358, 12 noon Eastern time. LSU and Missouri, 65 being the total. We're seeing -4 here. That's LSU, go Tigers, against the Missouri Tigers. So we've seen it come down a little bit, Bryson, from -6.5 down to -4. You like it? Anything LSU and Missouri?
So I know all my coworkers, they all went to Missouri. Like I liked it at the 6.5, 7, but now it's getting into that territory that it's like I don't know I'm not getting to the window on Missouri +4. I think at this point I'm probably pretty close to like a LSU ending up in like a money line parlay situation probably for me at this point. But yeah, we'll see. I think it'll be a good game, but I think LSU is a little bit more talented than the Tigers for sure.
Okay, and I know you're BR betting and a Kansas fan, and you brought up the Missouri-Kansas. Is that the biggest rival? Is Kansas State the biggest rival? Like, how does this work, Bryson? Because I'm not 100% sure, just being a normal college football fan.
Yeah, I mean, Missouri-Kansas is that's like a political, battle. There's once upon a time, 200 years ago, like Missouri burned Lawrence, Kansas down, and that's like a slave versus no slave state. It's very deep. So that's the rivalry. But now obviously they're in the SEC, we're in the Big 12, and so K-State has risen there. But we're gonna start playing them in football in 2025, and I think you'll see that rivalry come all the way back once we start playing them in football again.
Wow, man. Okay. Well, we'll get into the UCF Kansas game as well, guys, as Bryson very close with the program there. But speaking of Big 12 football, we got a big one in the Cotton Bowl, Oklahoma and Texas. Not 100% sure what we're supposed to be calling it, Bryson, but it starts with Red River anyway. 60.5 being the total, -5.5. Anywhere from -5 to -6, depending where we're shopping here. That's the Longhorns as the favorite. Great matchup, maybe best matchup of the weekend. You liking anything Oklahoma and Texas?
Yeah, I have Oklahoma at 6.5. I think that's a good line. I think this is the game. I actually grew up an Oklahoma fan before I went to KU. This game is always almost always close. Last year, obviously, got beat 49-0 Texas over Oklahoma, but it's normally close, and so I'll lean towards taking the points. And I think it's gonna be a good one, man. This game always ends up in whoever has the ball last, or fourth quarter, some shenanigans going on. So it's gonna be a good one. I think that, like you said, this is gonna be the best game of the day. I can't wait.
And what do you think would be better for the Big 12, for Texas to win or Oklahoma? Who do you think would have the best shot in the playoffs?
I would lean towards Texas maybe having the best shot, but I don't know. I think the Big 12 would like both of them to lose. Given they're both leaving the conference, I don't think there's any love lost there.
Oh, interesting. Okay, interesting take. And what's your overall just thoughts on Texas and maybe national championship aspirations? Do you think that there's a legit opportunity there?
I definitely think it's a legit opportunity. I don't think anybody, and I'm sure you agree, nobody looks good. Nobody looks unstoppable this year. So this Texas team obviously has kind of been pretty consistent, outside of the Wyoming game. And being a Kansas guy, we lost to Texas last week, but we had the ball 3 different times with a chance to take the lead in the third quarter. So it's one of those things that, I think Texas at times has looked a little shaky, but man, when they look good, I'm not quite sure very many teams in the country can stop them. And Georgia, the offense is gone. Bama, the offense is gone. Those top teams are struggling on one side of the ball or the other. And I think Texas, at least for the most part, appears to be pretty good on both sides.
Yeah, I do agree with you. I mean, it's more wide open this season in college football than any season I can remember off the top of my head anyway. So, yeah, good stuff here. Bryson, as we got about 8-9 games left, guys, but do want to give a shout out to our sponsor, VivaTequilaSeltzer.com. Go check them out, VivaTequilaSeltzer.com. Remember, it's not just a drink, it's a statement. Embrace the vibes, own the winning mindset, and let's live it up. Viva Tequila Seltzer, raising a toast to cashing those tickets. Cheers to have those #Viva vibes. VivaTequilaSeltzer.com. Next game up, guys. Going down in rotation order, 12 noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific, 361-362, Maryland and Ohio State. Bryce, we're seeing the Buckeyes minus 20 at home, 57 being the total.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's like, I've bet on Maryland quite a few times, and I know two of his brothers, the quarterback there, and he's good, but sometimes it's scary. And I don't know, 20 points I think is a lot. Like I don't think Ohio State's as good, as they typically are, and I think we've seen times this year that they have struggled, like that Indiana game beginning of the year. Man, that was very ugly. So I would probably lean towards taking Maryland, but honestly, and in all honesty, I think if anything, I'd probably maybe end up on the over. But that's kind of where I'd end up there.
Yeah, I think Maryland's kind of heading in the right direction. They've just had such a tough time stepping up in class, like against Ohio State, against the Michigans, really top-notch teams. They really haven't shown up. So, guys, I'm kind of waiting to see them show up, I guess, miss like a win. And then if they do get to like that epsilon, then look to bet on them. I'm kind of with you. I don't know. I feel like the side is Maryland plus the points, but we've just seen it so many times, them kind of get blown out in these situations that it's maybe a hold your nose special, guys, and take the near 3 touchdowns with the Terps. TCU and Iowa State heading back to the Big 12 here, 8 p.m. Eastern. We're seeing TCU -6 in the hook, -6 as the road favorite, 52.5 being the total in Ames. You like anything Big 12 matchup?
I know this is gross, but I kind of like Iowa State, man. I really do.
Okay.
Like, I think Ames, Iowa is a tough place to play, and I don't think TCU is good at all. I thought at the beginning of the year, like, I regret it. I didn't bet Colorado against them, but, like, I was like, why are they ranked? Like, they were obviously in the playoff. They were in the national title game last year, but, man, they lost all of their best players. And it's like, I have not seen anything good from TCU this year. And I think Iowa State, mind you, has looked really, really, really bad at times this year. But I actually think at the end of the day, they're not that bad. They competed for 2.5 quarters, 3 quarters last week against Oklahoma before the wheels came off. I lean towards Iowa State here, but this is the kind of, you use the hold your nose thing. It's a close your eyes. I always say close your eyes and check the score. Check the score a couple hours later and hope it's a little bit more in your favor.
Sure, the close your eyes, that works. Probably it's a better fitting word. Makes a little bit more sense to most people. Bryson, you said Ames, Iowa, tough place to play. Why do you say that? Like, have you been there? I mean, for the non-Big 12 people out there, what's behind that?
I always simplify it that, I'm sure you see, like, with Iowa, I know they make a spectacle of their fans, everyone waving to the hall. Like, they have nothing better to do in Iowa than love their sports teams. And they do it. They do it very well. Like Hilton Coliseum in basketball for KU has always been a place KU struggled. Like they fill that football stadium up in Ames, Iowa. And it I'm not sure exactly, obviously they're not as good this year. I'm assuming their crowd's still going to show up. Like they are very loud, very ruckus. It's a tough place to play. And so I'd lean towards taking Iowa State there.
Okay. Like it. Like the breakdown, a little Big 12 conference specialist here. Bryson Stricker from BR Betting. And Bryson, we got Rutgers and Wisconsin up next. Big 10 action, 44 being the total, -13. That's what I'm seeing at most shops here. That's Wisconsin. We'll jump around here. You liking anything in Camp Randall to kick us off on Saturday?
This is another spot where I'd probably take the dog. If anything, I will never lay 13 with Wisconsin, man. I'll be dead before I ever do something like that. I mean, they're a team that's a long 13 points sometimes. I think it's a little bit better with Luke Fickell, head coach, but man, it's still watching that team get to 13 points ahead of the other team is sometimes a struggle. So I'd probably lean Rutgers, and I think they've played with some fight. Obviously, gave Michigan a run for their money for quite some time early in the season as well.
And another Big 10 matchup here: Purdue and Iowa. Seeing Hawkeyes -2.5 at home. Low total here as we go sub 40, 38.5 I'm seeing showing up right now. We just talked about Iowa fan bases heading back there to Iowa City. Are you liking anything with the Boilermakers and the Hawkeyes?
I will not be betting on the Boilermakers. I honestly, I think Iowa, if it's dropping, I see maybe even a 2 at some places. Like Iowa money line, I think could be a spot where I maybe end up getting in at. I think Iowa's better than Purdue. I had Purdue to cover the points against Wisconsin a couple weeks ago, and that was one of the most frustrating losses I've had in a long time. And so I think Iowa's good. I lean towards the over sometimes too. I think everyone just signifies in their mind that the Iowa games always go under, and the line drops to a point where I think it gets a lot more manageable for them to get it over. So at the 38.5, I think maybe leaning back towards the over might be a decent move there.
All right, looking for some points here in Iowa City. As guys, we got 4 or 5 games left here. We'll get a best bet from Bryson making his debut here on the Every Game on the Board podcast. Wherever you're downloading your podcast at, guys, we break down every single game on the college football slate all the way through the national championship. So go ahead and subscribe, podcast, wherever you download your podcast at, Every Game on the Board. We also go live YouTube, Every Game on the Board, at Drew Martin Betts and at Bry. What is it again, Bryson?
Strick. Bry Strick.
Bry Strick on Twitter, guys. So that's where you can watch the Every Game on the Board each and every week. We got Fresno State and Wyoming up next as we head to Laramie here. -6. That's the Bulldogs as the road favorite. 44 being the total. Tough to play in Laramie here, Bryson, but particularly laying a number. You liking anything with Fresno State and Wyoming?
Yeah, I don't lay the number very often, but I might here. Like, Fresno State's a good team. So is Wyoming. Like, Wyoming gave Texas Tech, obviously beat them in overtime. I think, had Texas on the ropes for quite some time. But I like Fresno State, man. They're a good team, and I think that total at 44, like, I haven't dove too in. Feels kind of low. Like, I mean, I know Wyoming, plays good defense, but Fresno State can score in 1 or 2 plays at least once or twice a game, and so I don't know. I let over. It seems kind of juicy to me.
Okay, just sitting at 44 here, guys. 371, 372 down in numerical order. 8 o'clock Eastern, Colorado State and Utah State. Interesting matchup here with Colorado State taking some money at open pick. Now we're seeing the Rams -3-point road favorites, 64 being the total. Mountain West action, Colorado State, Utah State, Bryson.
Yeah, I'm going to take Utah State +3, and this is another close your eyes. You got to close your eyes here. It's going to be scary, but I like them, man. I thought last week they battled back in a game they were struggling in, and like their coach, side story, but like their coach was on College Game Day, and see the amazing story there that was actually like really cool to see. So I actually like Utah State here. It's going to be scary. That Colorado State team obviously shows what they can do against Colorado, but I think Utah State +3 is decent value there. Obviously, it opened to pick them, but I like +3.
Yeah, it's a tough place to play, too. A little difficult to get there in Logan, Utah. So now catching 3 with the home underdog, Utah State. We get San Jose State and Boise State. Seeing the Broncos -9.5. One shop showing -10 here. 59 being the total. Liking anything in this Mountain West matchup?
Yeah, I'd probably take Boise State minus the points here, man. But I hate laying points. I do it like once a week, if not twice a week. But yeah, no, I think Boise State here. San Jose State, I think, unfortunately, is just kind of a bottom feeder when it comes down to it. Boise State at home, that's a decent line for them.
And we got Arizona USC up next. Trojans -3 touchdowns, -21.5-point favorites, 72 being the total. Man, north of 70, but USC, the Trojans would be tough to bet under. Do you like anything I guess it's at 10:30 Eastern, so nightcap here in the Conference of Champions.
Yeah, no, that's an under and pray situation. I just really think that USC is better on defense than we think they are, and I don't think Arizona's very good. And like that Colorado game last week, like there was a couple unnecessary touchdowns just in general on both sides. I think that like obviously that game ended up going over, but I think USC's defense, especially like on the criticisms of last week. Focusing on things, Alex Grinch or DC. I think we'll have that defense ready to go. I could see that game going under. So 72 is a lot of points, man. I see that game going under.
Okay, yeah, we are seeing key offshore here going to 71.5, so a tick lower. So maybe look under 72 here, guys, as we got Colorado and Arizona State up next, Bryson. -4, -4.5. That's the Buffs as the road favorite. Coach Prime, the whole bit here going on the road to Tempe, 60 being the total. Good Pac-12 matchup here, Colorado and Arizona State.
Yeah, I'm taking Colorado, man. This is when I get back on the Colorado train. I've been off of it, and now I'm going to probably get back on it. I think this is a spot for them where, like, I think that team does have a lot of talent. They've been a little bit banged up past couple weeks, and I think Oregon and USC are way above where Colorado is. But I do think Colorado has some very good players on that team. And I'm not quite sure Arizona has the star power to keep up with it. And so I think 4 is a gracious number from the books here for us.
And I know you're close with the Kansas program and Big 12 conference, obviously. What are we thinking with the change happening next year? Because I personally think, Bryson, like the Big 12 conference, yes, losing Oklahoma, losing Texas, did a great job of preserving itself, like adding UCF, adding all the teams that they did. Really, I thought it was just very, very well planned out to like preserve itself really overall as a conference. How do you feel about it and going forward?
Yeah, I agree. I think that it'll make the conference maybe even just like it will lack the star power on the surface level, but I think it'll be more fun. Like you're looking at a situation where like even, I mean, this year, even like you're looking at the teams at the top, like when you eliminate Oklahoma and Texas, dude, you have like a 7-8 horse race on like a normal year, which is like very rare. There's not very many, especially power conferences that like that many teams could win. So I think it'll be fun. And I think too, even just in general, some fun destinations like Arizona. Getting to go to Arizona in November as someone that lives in Kansas, that'll be wonderful. Boulder, Colorado, beautiful area. Never been to Utah, so looking forward to either playing BYU or Utah, and then Central Florida. Obviously, we play them again this week, but I think it's gonna be good. I think the Big 12 is gonna be a fun conference, and it's like we might probably end up in a situation we never win the playoffs or we never have someone that's super elite. But I think in general, it's gonna be one of the best conferences to watch, and for me, that's all I really care about. So.
Yeah, I can't wait for the new teams to come in as well. I thought that this season has been great. And you're right. It's, 7-8 teams. I might even say like larger because there's no bottom feeders in the Big 12, really. I mean, we'll see how some of the new schools do. And we'll get your opinion on this UCF Kansas game. But overall, I think it's going to be very competitive in the Big 12. We got last game for the slate of games, guys. We will get a best bet. 379-380. Then we'll start off Oregon State, California with Robbie Vino, the closer for the week 6, every game on the board. Wherever you're downloading your podcast at, every game on the board. We got Washington State and UCLA. We're seeing the Bruins -3 in the hook starting to pop up here, Bryson. 60.5 being the total. Pac-12 action in Los Angeles. You liking anything?
I like Washington State plus the points, man. I think they're a good team. I think they're a really, really good team, and they've been making me money. I had them against Oregon State a couple of weeks ago. I like Oregon. I like Washington State here, man. I really do. I don't think UCLA is that good either. So I'll take Washington State +3 here.
Okay. Yeah, you can even get them +3.5 is available out there. So that does it for the rotation. Guys, we got a little special here since Bryson close with the Kansas program. And to tell you the truth, it's top of the card, 319, 320. We are seeing -2. That's UCF is the road favorite, 64 being the total. We're talking UCF at Kansas, guys, 4 o'clock Eastern time, a little bonus special here. Bryson, I'll throw it over to you, man. What are your overall thoughts coming in? Do you like anything betting-wise?
Yeah, well, it sucks. Our quarterback, Jalen Daniels, is out. That's the real. And I think we're short. I think they're +2. I think we're -2. Maybe it's flipped. Oh, it looks like it has. Okay. Yeah. No, I still like us. I'm not worried about that. Like, I think that that's a lot of it. Like quarterback. Like I think their quarterback's back. I think our quarterback's out. So it's like it makes sense to flip. But I like Kansas here, man. I think that like too much stock is put into Jason Bean or Jalen Daniels because Jalen Daniels has like star power. Like people think he's, he was Big 12 preseason offensive player of the year, but I like it. I think that we are still the better team. I think this team with Jason Bean proved last year they can win games. And I think at the end of the day, I think this is going to be a shootout. Like, I mean, if you want to just bet the over and close your eyes or like open your eyes, I mean, even like there's going to be a lot of touchdowns in this game. And I think at the end of the day, Kansas is a better team. And I actually think their backup quarterback, who might not be playing anymore because their starter's back, is actually a bigger problem for us because we really struggle with like super uber athletic quarterbacks that like are very agile. Whereas like Plumlee is fast, but he's more of like a downhill runner. And so I don't know. I think that their backup actually would have caused us way more problems. I don't know if you watched that Baylor game last week, but that like 4th down play where he's like jumping around, but like that's the type of thing he could do against us. Like our defense cannot tackle. And so that's the type of game where I lean towards, us. I don't know. I think that there's still value for us. I think we opened up as a favorite for a reason. And like respectfully, Jalen Daniels was out last week. And we there was no reason to think he was going to be back this week. And we still opened as a pretty decent sized favorite. So I don't know. I like Kansas there. That's my lean there.
Yeah. I like the breakdown and I agree with you. Yeah. Bean is like an experienced back guy. He even started at North Texas a couple of years ago. And there was like a quarterback competition before, it kind of came out that Daniels was the starter, if I remember right. What are your thoughts on Lance Leopold overall? Obviously done a great job so far. I think he's one of the best X's and O coaches in the entire country. What are your thoughts on it?
No, dude, Lance is amazing, man. He is more than likely, if he stays here, obviously like rumored to leave every single week when the new opening comes up. But if he stays at Kansas, there's gonna be a statue for that guy, man, because he's a fantastic leader, fantastic coach, and like the players respect him, and like his offensive coordinator is really, really good. And I think at the bare minimum, like we have someone who's establishing a program, which is what Kansas has not had in a very, very, very long time. And so I love Lance, man. He frustrates me sometimes. He makes some boneheaded coaching decisions, but at the end of the day, like the X's and O's stuff, like we are like at the end of the day, Kansas, in my opinion, especially when Jalen Daniels is out there, it's one of the best offenses in the country. And like 3 years ago, that would have been a joke to even say out loud. So I love Lance.
like it, man. Well, I'll throw it over to you. Do you have a best bet? Is one of these games you like the most? The Kansas game? Anything else on this week's card that you want to throw out to the listeners? Best bet style?
Yeah, the Oklahoma game. Obviously, we talked about it earlier. I really like Oklahoma plus 6.5. Okay. I really, really like that. I would say if that's the best bet, that is the best bet. And the other thing I would say is if you're in a state that you can bet player props for college, I know that's very restrictive. Trevor Wilson for Kansas is receiving over. Him and Jason Bean are best friends. And whenever he is on the field, whenever Jason Bean is the quarterback, he gets a ton of receptions, a ton of receiving yards. So that would be my actual. If you're in a state that you can bet player props for college, Trevor Wilson over receiving yards, over receptions, 100%. They are best friends. They throw the ball. He throws the ball to him so much. So
I love that they're best friends off the field, and you've noticed it from watching the program closely that he tends to throw it to. So when Jason Bean's on the field, Trevor Wilson over receptions.
Always. It's like Cooper Kupp and Matthew Stafford, going to breakfast together. It's one of those situations.
I love it. Awesome, Bryson. Man, that is some inside knowledge there. And any kind of final thoughts here before we shut it down? How can people find you? Anything else you want to throw out?
Yeah, Stricker on Twitter, as you said a couple of times. Then obviously I do run the BR betting page, so you'll catch me sweating some field goal props or stupid first touchdown scores that I'll bet every once in a while. But yeah, I appreciate you having me on, Drew.
Bryson, all the best, man. Love the insight, and KU UCF, man. It's going to be a fun one. Enjoy it. So thanks for coming on, buddy.
Yep, appreciate it.